Welcome to the Maythorn Monthly for March, and it's Brian on the road here in Wales. I've hired this wonderful Transit Custom. A friend of mine said this was a great van and would use it instead of his car. I must admit, this drives better and performs better than my car does as well, and I'd love to have one of these, but I can't really justify it. But I can for a few days, as I'm now going to be collecting a lot of my personal possessions together, putting them in storage and generally distributing around friends who said they'll look after things for me. So a lot of the programme isn't going to be from me this month. The other Brian's come into it though, and Brian number 2, well, he's drinking a cup of coffee in a very interesting place. Yes, cheers. I'm hiding over here by the wall because the sun occasionally comes through the palm trees and spreads us with light and warmth. It's the middle of the winter, but we're in Benidorm. I've got to go through all the places that begin with B because my name is B for Brian. So we've done Barcelona, done Benicassim, so now it's time for Benidorm. We're in the old part of Benidorm because I felt that had more appeal. Down on the seafront, and we've come across a little bar called the Yellow Submarine. So we've been having pizza in the Yellow Submarine. Now there's a story to take home. Back in Poland for a quick visit where I'm busy mispronouncing Polish names. This one I think is Gdynia. It's got a fairly large city, great public transport, and it's got a load of marinas, and I guess it's a port as well because there appears to be sailings out to other places. So a quick look around Gdynia today as our monthly visit to Poland continues. To get to Gdynia from Gdansk by train, you have to use your day ticket and get on an SKM train because that's the company that's covered by it. They're not all old trains travelling up this line, there are some new ones. This is one of them, and this is the one I took up to Gdynia on the day I travelled. Very smart on the outside, quite long trains as you can see, and inside also very comfortable and modern. And for our transport fans, when I got to Gdynia, I also took photographs of other trains passing through the station, quite a variety of them. For those who've been following my property journey for some time, you'll remember the house in Trythe in Flintshire, and this is where we got to about a year ago. So over the last 12 months, all the doors and the door frames have been put in upstairs. It's all been plastered round and painted, and the work on the bathroom has been finished. Downstairs and in the kitchen we put up plasterboard and then skimmed it. We put downlighters in this area. This is actually the dining part of the kitchen. The kitchen itself had been donated by another landlord. We changed the original drawer fronts and doors after a new low-level oven housing was found. There's not much height in this kitchen, and it just happened to have a finishing panel on it that our prospective tenants thought was very attractive, more so than the doors and that we already had. So we had to go looking for this, which was end-of-line material, and eventually we did actually source enough of the stuff to change all the drawers and door fronts. Had a little trouble getting the wall cupboards sizes, but we got there in the end by making a few adjustments, shall we say. And then came the white goods. We bought an oven for the housing, we bought a hob, everything was tested, and then it was all ready for the tenants to move into. From Wales back to Spain, and I was going to attempt to climb up to the castle, but I only got halfway. On the way I found some really attractive streets and a little church building, but the castle was still a long way off, and we were on quite a short trip up here at the time. Nice view from even this level, so it'll be even better from the castle. And then we wandered around the back streets back at ground level. Came across these mushrooms and toadstools. Unbelievable, but they decided to do this just to brighten up the street apparently, and it's called Mushroom Street now. And I'm trying to take a photograph here, if you don't mind, young lady. That's the Alicante market building. There are some impressive buildings here, but my focus on this visit was having a wander around the back streets to see what they were like. Cute and cuddly. Well, that's probably not quite the expression, but there's a lot of sort of activity going on here with places that people live, places that people go for a drink, and I think possibly mainly the locals. We actually stopped for lunch at this bar here and then continued our walk, and later on we discovered that the Spanish are more likely to be eating in bars with outside heaters because in the winter and into spring it's still too cold for them, even though it's fine for us. So lots of the tables had these outdoor heaters. Here's the technology for this month, and it's home automation technology. And this is a smart home. It's a Brian smart home, to be more precise. And last month I showed you some lights coming on as I walked into the corridor of the apartment in Poland. That's normally done by a device called a PIR, a passive infrared detector. It picks up the heat of the body moving and turns on the lights. I go a bit further than that with my lighting, and what I do is, this is a standard GU10 downlighter bulb. We have some in the ceiling here, and I'm going to demonstrate what you can do with only a small amount of money. Now, what I've done with these bulbs here is replace the standard one with an IKEA wireless bulb. This is a hardware controller, so you don't have to have a phone, you don't have to have the internet, you just have to have this. And this is how I faded the lights up before. I'll just fade them out again to prove that. There's another trick that you can play, bring them back up. Wireless bulbs for about a fiver, £6 at the most. They're multicolour. Now, you may have heard that LED lights can be cool white or they can be warm white. Well, this is warm at the moment, but if I just press a switch on the remote controller, I can change the colour of the bulbs. I understand these are not the ideal lights for shooting a movie, but for my purposes, I want to be able to demonstrate that with a click of this controller that I can change the colour of the bulbs over my head. Okay, so that's done with hardware. It's not connected to my hub at all, it's just connected to this. It's also magnetic, and that knew we'd have something metal around here. So you can stick it to the wall, but it also comes with a mounting bracket if you want to replace your standard light switch. Now, I've also put some bulbs, some of these wireless bulbs, into an overhead gantry type of affair up here. So I'm going to use the app this time because these are actually connected to my hub. So there's 3 bulbs up here, and I don't know how many of them you can see without a really wide angle lens. But what I'm going to do is bring one of them on by touching the button. So that one over there has come on. Now the middle one here, which lights my bananas, my favourite food, what I'm going to do with that is take control of it and fade it in. So if you watch that now, that will slowly come up to full brightness, and then there's a third one over there. I don't know which ones you can see. I'm going to just bring that on. Now I have a program that runs every day that says at half an hour before sunset start to fade these lights up, so that by the time we actually reach sunset they are at full brightness, so we can walk into the kitchen at night and these lights are always on. And as you know, LED lights don't consume much power. So there we are. We have the lighting in the house all automated one way or another. And you know we're moving house. What will I do when we move? Take these bulbs out, put the original ones back in, go into our new place, plug the bulbs in there, and it'll all just carry on working. So I've moved house with no difficulty at all. Nothing got installed. Wireless bulbs, well worth having. And so, from the kitchen that has plenty of light to Alicante, which doesn't have a great deal, but some of the big buildings are nicely lit, and it affects the trees as well, so it looks quite attractive. But the railway station, which I hadn't explored yet, went to have a look at, was more or less in darkness. The car park was dark. The only area that was lit was the taxi rank just outside. Inside there's a huge station concourse that was pretty dead at about 9 o'clock at night. The odd train came in, some people wandered across, but everything here was closed, all the little concerns where you can get your hamburgers. And yes, this one too, Timmy's is here. We'd come across Tim Hortons at the airport, and in fact as soon as we got the bus back to Alicante airport to fly home, we walked in the door and there it was again. You'll find that Tim Hortons are springing up everywhere. We got back to Flintshire, we went to Broughton Park, and there for our breakfast we went to, another one. A new Tim Hortons has sprung up there as well. Back in the UK though, we've had lots of storms, as you may have noticed, and a lot of stuff's been damaged, so we went back to try then to do some work on the exterior of the house. Bob had to spend quite a bit of time up a ladder at the back securing the soil pipe, which was hanging away from the wall, and at the front we had a different problem. Now, I bought this house in 2008 and hadn't noticed until now that I was the only terrace which had no downpipe from the gutter, and therefore water had been coming in through the front wall of the house. So we fixed that. We have now joined the club and got a downpipe for our property. For our transport enthusiasts, we returned to Alicante to see what goes on there. And in 2006, the last time I was there, there was a tram running from the promenade going all the way up the coast to Gdynia with a change at Benidorm. Well, you have to change at Benidorm now anyway. Electric vehicles in Spain, not many. We only saw 2 charging points the whole time we were there, run by Iberdrola, the national power company in Spain. There's a bus station down on the front, everything nicely laid out all along the coastline. The bus station is there too, so you can get the local buses and the long distance buses from here. As for the tram, well, since we last came, it's been extended into the city centre and it's gone underground. So where we were staying in the 16th story apartment was right by a place called Maythorn. This is the square where you go down underground. There you can see the fountain just ahead as we dip below. And from here we're going to take the tram all the way up to Benidorm, and when we get there we're going to get out and have a look round Benidorm. I'm going to be aiming for the old town and the port, so let's get going. And this is the promenade along the front of the old part of Benidorm, and this is where we found our Yellow Submarine. It's actually quite a big building, but of course we sat outside so we didn't see much of that. It's a great area for exercise. They have outdoor gym equipment down here. You can run, you can cycle, or you can just sit in one of the bars and watch everybody else doing it. We walk back up to the tram station through a residential area, and this is a square where we stop for a drink and to use the facilities. And there are some apartments right by here with some very tall palm trees. I guess the trees do naturally grow up looking for the light. And so the journey back, we go on to Benidorm station, and this has recently been modernised. It's now a kind of interchange where the trams come in from the north at Gdynia. We'll just zoom in on this one. This one's going north, so it's not for us. We'll get on the one that's going south back to Alicante. It's a lovely journey up and down this coast with views all the way. And when you finally get into Alicante and you start to see the city centre streets, this is where you duck underground and end up back at Maythorn. Okay, after our little trip to Benidorm on the tram, we have landed back home. It's the end of the show, and I'd like to finish this time with a look back. I've been living for 26 years in Higher Kinnerton in Flintshire. We've just moved here in the last few days, and I'll no doubt be telling you more about that in the future, but I'd like to end by taking a look back. One of the places that my friends and I have been meeting in the last 12 months is a coffee shop called Walter's. I've only ever shown you the outside of that. Before I left, I took some shots of the inside. It's quite interesting, so have a look at these. And then I'm going to end with a look back over the years that I've spent at Kinnerton, starting off with the garden that I turned into a pond. The pictures I've found are from 2005, it was all completed by then, and there were fish swimming around in it. And I've got some other footage from Kinnerton that's after 2005 and it features some of our family and the way they live there. So enjoy that, and I'll see you next month from somewhere. I have no idea.